Hi everyone. I noticed in our critique of the knee surgery piece, a lot of people seem to be floundering on the piece, and so I just wanted to go through the process that I would use to do this type of illustration. So I went back through and I watched the video, and I took a bunch of screenshots of things that I thought were interesting within the video, and I want to walk you through, kind of even the decision-making process for that. But if we can just go back here and start looking through the photos, this is the glue piece that at least one person had done. That's that could be a very cool, interesting illustration, actually. There's another view of it, which could be neat, with the knee in the background, and then let me throw a layer on top of here. This unit right here, move it that way, and let's see. Then we have this. Okay, so that's basically that. So here's this zoomed out. Throw this on top of it. Lighten the opacity. I'm just going to give you a couple examples of how you might do this. Try to get these down to a similar size. And a lot of people were zoomed in really tight on the piece as well, and you just don't need to be. There you can see my YouTube playlist, because I thought I cropped these. I guess I didn't. Let's see, try to get that lined up. So anyhow, I would use the bone from this. Close-ish. That'll do for now. So I would come in, throw this layer on. And this is just going to be our very first quick sketch, just a layout. It's a tool. This hand, some people had drawn this with this finger sticking up. It just does not look good. Definitely, you'd need to reshoot that hand. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in a second. So here we are. So this is a more zoomed out version. So here's that knee and the bone. And right now I'm literally it's just my layout. I'm just tracing over this. You kind of figure out there's the instrument. I think there's another hand in there. There might be. And then let's get rid of that for a second. If I came in here, I threw another layer on here, and I took this thing, which is kind of cool, in the hand, and do a lot better job than I'm doing here, okay? And I would move this off to the side here. Alright, now that is a much cooler illustration. You'd get rid of this stuff back here. But what you have to do is you have to say, and so, okay, sorry, I changed my mind again. And then you still have the pile of glue here that's already been put in place, right? From the previous one, from this one, where the glue is actually put down. So the glue is on this surface and it's on this surface. I wouldn't show it being put here, but maybe here's your pile of glue and it's got some neat specular highlights. It's white, it's shiny. Here's the same glue, it's white, shiny with specular highlights, so it's obvious it's the same thing. Here's the caulking gun. Where's the caulking gun? I don't know if you see a hand. You may not need a hand in this one. You might put a hand in here. Anyhow, don't just accept a single image though, because that at that point they may as well use a camera. And the reason that they hire an illustrator is because they need us to show things that can't be seen. They just shot a video of this, but they need us to tell a story about it. So here's our story. It's the knee with the glue being applied. So that's one example of how you could do this. Making sure I was actually recording this, because that would be really a pain. But also, you know, this is how close up people are doing these. Okay, I know they shot it this close. Don't draw it that close though. Back it out some. There's a picture. Where'd I put it? Down here somewhere. Of really backed out from the knee. That's too far, I would say. Overall, that's too far. But you know, there's no reason that it couldn't be this kind of field instead of this. That's just cramped. It's an uncomfortable illustration. It makes everything feel like it's just compressed. It's hard to look at. So you know, a much bigger camera angle would be good. And then say for whatever reason, maybe it's offset a little bit because there's, you know, something coming in from this side. I don't know what it is. I'm just thinking out loud right now. But like the glue. You get the idea. Let me turn that off and go back up here again. Let's look at that glue piece again. Yeah, so that would be cool. And then if, you know, you were zoomed out and you used this knee kind of as the reference image for that, like as for what you showed of the knee. But you get the idea. You can't just take one still from this video and say, hey, that's going to be my illustration. Because they're demonstrating and they've got the whole video to do it. You need to try to tell a story in a single picture, or two pictures, but a single picture for this assignment. The one that I had looked at, if I were going to do this, the illustration that I would show, this is very cool right here, to me at least, where they're chiseling this out. And okay, so maybe it's not the coolest thing right now, but this could be very, very cool. But what I'm doing is, so I took, here's a nice shot of it where everything's in focus. It's really clear. It's very pretty. I would use this as my base for this illustration. So if we come down here and let's throw a layer on it. And again, for right now, just trace it down. Don't waste your time. You'll come back and be an artist in a little while. Okay, don't freak out. Just get this laid in, because we're just kind of planning right now. And you don't need to spend 3 hours on every planning sketch. Because A, we all have lives, and B, if you're working professionally, you just don't have time for it. Okay, so we get the idea. Here's that drill bit. And there's all the bone. And of course, the final will be drawn. You saw my line samples. I mean, this is how I start, though. My line sample would be very nice looking. Then I'm going to come back in and I dropped this piece in. I resized it with the chisel. Get some of that out of there. Come in and I'm going to add this chisel in. And now the reason I didn't just work from this chisel is because in just that image, this is all sprayed with water and it's dirty and it's got bone shards and it's hard to tell what it is, and the color's not great. So I would go back. Here's the spreader. This one looks better on this image, so I would put this tool in, this instrument. That's called a retractor. And then, let's see, I would come in, and this view of being pulled back out from this, I think is going to work much better for us. So now, if I take this, get my sketch turned back on. That's not what I wanted on my sketch. I'm going to take this sketch, I'm going to scale it, and I'm going to put it over top of this knee. Alright, and of course that is way too tiny, right? I thought I had cropped these, I didn't, but I left this great big it captures all three of my monitors when I do a screenshot, so I've got this massive craziness going on. A little smaller than that. And if we zoom back in, I'll throw another layer on, and so here's the leg. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to zoom out here. I'm not going to use these hands, but just to get the idea of, you know, where the knee is in space. You guys are zooming in on these things way tight. Move that, get that out of there. I don't need it right now, but we'll keep it there for reference. And then the chisel. So I came in here and you can't see much on the chisel, but my son is a woodworker, so I sent him out to the garage to grab a chisel, and here's his hand. I would reshoot this. It's not exactly right yet, and this chisel's much smaller than the chisel that the surgical chisel that they would use. I'll throw another layer on here. So I would come in and kind of block in the hand. And surgical gloves, they don't stop right here, okay? You'll have to find some reference for surgical gloves. They go all the way up, and usually you see the surgeon's sleeve. They have these sleeves that they wear underneath them. It comes all the way up into here. So these are some things you just kind of have to know if you watch some videos. But you'll have to look up, you know, surgical chisels online, see if you can find a similar instrument, and draw that in there. Let's call that good. We'll get the chisel out of there. And then the other thing I would probably put in this shot is, where'd that piece go? Let me see. Somewhere in here they were spraying a little bit of water on this. There it is. I'd probably come in here. Let's see. Just pull them back up so it fits. And here's this hand, and again, reshoot this hand. This hand is terrible. So you'd reshoot that. You'd shot the chisel and make sure the scale on these matches. That's really important. Here's this instrument here from another photo, and then they've got this cool sprayer here. That's they keep spraying to keep this moist, and it's a drizzle. It's not a wild, crazy spray, so it's a drizzle. Like a garden watering can would be a great reference to use for this. As to find a picture of a can watering something, and how it has the nice gentle arc of water coming out. I would use that for reference on this, and then I would take this and transform it. Make it bigger. And it's kind of spraying over here. But what I might do is change where this hand is slightly. Angle this up so that the hand is just slightly overlapping that, to make that a more interesting composition. Instead of having like element, element, element. This way you'll have, you know, the spray nozzle behind the hand. And let's see, then if we take let's get rid of some of this reference again. Alright, that's a pretty cool illustration. And then, you know, if you needed to, you have this space over here. If you needed to do, you know, the inset of the knee, you need to do a knee drawing inset, or say you wanted to put in another step over here of, you know, what comes next after that. I don't know. You could. There's just lots of different directions that you could go with that. But you could have this extra space if you wanted to, you know, put in some kind of insets over here. And this might be an interesting place actually to have your healthy knee. Front view of the healthy knee, maybe the front view, and to, no, that probably won't work. Anyhow, or just have the bone. How about that? Let's just come over here. Let's just have the tibia. So we show the femur. We show the tibia, fibula, and we show that, you know, this is the area that's happening in. Maybe there's some kind of little inset that gives you a roadmap of what's going on over there. But you get the idea, is that don't try to just pick a single shot in this video that's going to tell the entire story, because you're not going to find it, because they have 15 minutes to tell the story. You have one image, so you're going to have to combine some things. It all has to be medically accurate. It all has to be things that are being done around the same time period, within, like, you know, the same step of the surgery. Like, you wouldn't add the glue in here, because that would make no sense. But so there's two ideas for you anyhow. So there's one, and up here, did we keep it? Here's the adhesive idea. And again, that's just done by combining a few things and taking some of your own reference images. All right, if you get stuck, if you have any problems, please don't hesitate to email and let's set up a call. And don't feel like you're bugging me. A lot of times people are like, I'm sorry to bother you. You're not bothering me. This is what I'm here for. I'm trying to get rid of that one. Let's try to get rid of that. This is what I'm here for, is to help you guys out with this. So, all right. Otherwise, I was going to say have a great weekend, but I think it's Monday. Have a great week. Take care. I almost forgot. There's one other thing I wanted to show you about what you can do with some of these reference photos. So say we want to use this image right here as the base for a surgical piece, and this image I think shot a little dark. You might need to go in and do some color manipulation, but the metal looks really nice. And I was telling somebody earlier that, you know, this looks kind of on the orangey side to me, but at the same time, it's kind of the flesh color, it's kind of the tissue color, and when they cut this, they use a cautery tool, not a scalpel, and the cautery tool, as they cut, it cauterizes, meaning it like seals the end of the blood vessels as they cut through, so there's very little blood in a surgery. I think people kind of have the other idea that there's a lot of blood in a surgery, but there's really just not. So what we're going to do for a few minutes is we're going to crop this down. I just want to get rid of as much of this background stuff as I can. And I'm even going to get rid of a lot of the black, because I don't want the black. Save your image before you do this, though, so you don't flatten it. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to steal the color palette right from this image. Well, what you can do is if you come up here and you say image mode and you go to indexed color, merge it, yes, please merge everything, and it's going to say how many colors do you want, and I would say 20 to 30. Some people want to put in like 70 colors, but then you just get this wide range of like different variations on the same color. This is going to break it down and give us some basic colors to work with. Black and white forced means that it would definitely give us a black and a white within that 30 color palette. And that seems like, why do I need a black and a white? But honestly, it's super helpful in your palette to have a black and a white, so you don't have to go searching for it if you need it. So say OK, and you'll notice it looks kind of bitmappy. If we come back here and we go image, we say mode, and this time we come down to color table. This is the color table that it created from that. And look how orange and brown this thing is. There's very little red to it. But that kind of gave us this color palette. And even some of the metallics are more in this orange and yellow because, you know, this is not just gray, it's reflecting all these neat oranges around it. So your hardware, you'll have to clean it up a little bit, but it's not just a gray metal. It does have color reflecting in it, which is like, if you look down down here, right here, you see all the highlights here, they're actually orange. And these highlights here are on the yellow side because they're reflecting all this color. And then way down here at the bottom, this is all orange. It's reflecting all this tissue down here. This starts getting into the grays and the whites because it's reflecting the lights in the room. But then what you can do is you can hit save and you can name it, and that will save. This is how I do some of these. Like, so this intestine one. This is how you can do some of these color palettes. So you could call this your knee surgery color palette and just save it as your Photoshop palette. And then, you know, next time you do an illustration, say you're doing a natural science illustration and you do a cardinal, and then you have your, you know, cardinal illustration, or your fish palette, I mean, your cardinal palette or your fish palette. You can just have, I have a cellular palette. I have one that's a copy of a Norman Rockwell piece I like. There's a Rockwell, some portraits, and I love the colors in it, so I went and I took the palette out of that one. So these are just some nice shortcuts that can save you a bunch of time. And let's see if we get back here. There's where we were, ish. That's it. So a few ideas for you, and I'll add this onto the previous video. And again, I hope that helps.